How the fuck are we doing today, boys?
It makes what's an already bad situation worse.
High out of our minds.
Infinity Ward, Treyarch, whatever. Dog shit companies.
Roasted.
Yeah, we had a beautiful weekend here in Kentucky.
True!
Greener DMR for.
So like,
Finish your fucking battle passes and then steal your mother's credit card, of course, to buy the new one. Code Hardstuck. It's a joke.
Are they gonna finish the fucking construction on it?
It's gonna be fucking terrible.
it's impossible to challenge.
Don't go to downtown.
Right.
Simply
You
stay
shouldn't
away.
be-
I have been following you all the way from Farmer Dan's land to the fucking village outside the stadium.
Fuck you if you like the Odin.
They're gonna be useless in quads.
Shout out to Tim, friend of the
Timbo.
podcast.
All right, we're doing the intro, boys. Lock it in.
I'd never die to somebody with a riot shield and nail guns.
Central New York, which is, of course, Canada.
I'm good at the video game. I love the Street Sweeper. What up?
If you like the Odin, you're dumb shit and you should unsubscribe from this podcast.
Yeah, I said, you said high skill, but even still, like,
It pisses me off, so it's a problem.
Join the fucking Discord. Activision doesn't like us.
75 people left after the first zone closes.
Throwing this Logitech mouse through the window to my left. Moving on. Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Hardstuck podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about Warzone and the meta topics surrounding the video game made by Activision, Infinity Ward, Treyarch, whatever, dog shit companies. My name is Boopsy, and today I'm joined as always by Mythic and Gohan as we discuss some of the meta topics surrounding Warzone. And the main topic today is going to be, how did Warzone win the gaming community at large over as like the most popular battle royale? So that's we're going to get into in a little bit. But before we do that, I want to ask my friends, how the fuck are we doing today, boys? Let's hear it. Mythic, how was camping?
It was good, man. I'm sunburnt as all hell. My face has gotten better, but like if you can see my shoulder. If you're watching on YouTube, my shoulder's toasted. My like back, my shoulders are roasted. It's great. And I'm mosquito bitten as all hell. So yeah, other than that, I'm great.
Some good old quality time with the pops out there in the woods getting mosquito bitten. That sounds fun and exciting.
Well, it was the boys' weekend. So like my uncle was there, and like a lot of their like childhood friends were all there, and so it's basically like what we're gonna be doing in like 10 years. You know, going out into the woods, getting fucking high out of our minds, drinking a
True.
lot of alcohol. So
True. Go on. Go on. How you been since the last time we recorded, buddy?
all pretty good. We had a beautiful weekend here in Kentucky. Had the doors off on the Jeep, the top off, driving around for a little bit. Good time.
Nice. Well, I'm very glad to hear that. Yep, my week's been fine. I pulled my back out a few days ago, which was neither fun or exciting. I was baling hay with my family owns a farm. I live and work on a northern farm up here in central New York, which is of course Canada. Make no mistake. And we were baling hay, and I fucked my entire back
slightly
up.
less communist.
Like a hair, yeah, a hair less communism than Trudeau inflicts up there in Canada. But this is not a politics podcast. This is, of course,
Just a joke.
yeah, that's a joke. So, a couple announcements before we get into things. We've got some podcast related announcements as well as some Call of Duty related announcements. So, announcement number 1 related to the podcast. There is a podcast questions section of the Discord, which is in fact linked below this video if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're listening on any of like Spotify or Apple Music or any of that shit. You can find it in the podcast notes. Join the fucking Discord. You can ask us like questions and shit that we'll answer here on the program. We have one later that we're gonna answer from Steel Switch, so you'll kind of understand how that goes. It's fun and exciting. Join the Discord. You can find people to play with. You can talk with us. We can talk shit about fucking hockey and UFC and stuff like that. It's a good time. Send us pictures of your cats. Of course, Gohan is allergic. You will kill him. It's okay. Don't worry. So yeah, that's the podcast announcement. And then we've got a couple Call of Duty announcements. So season 4 of Warzone and Cold War drops in 3 days on June 17th. 3 days from the time of recording. Finish your fucking battle passes and then steal your mother's credit card, of course, to buy the new one. Code Hardstuck. That's a joke. Activision doesn't like us. The season 4 roadmap dropped today. This morning, I believe. We have some highlights here. There are 4 technically new weapons, but only 3 that matter. We'll get into it. And the first one is the C58. Now, this one is going to be dog shit, make no mistake, but we'll go over it here regardless. It's a low fire rate and a low mag capacity, high damage, full auto assault rifle. Now, for those of you whose brains just exploded with all the adjective I just used. Basically what that means is it shoots slow as fuck and it has a small magazine, but apparently it does high damage. Now that doesn't matter because there are 12 hertz tick rate servers in this game. So if you don't have a high fire rate gun, you might as well just uninstall the video game. But do you guys have any thoughts on the C58?
What if this is like like an automatic but slightly slower shooting DMR?
If it has the same recoil as the other DMRs, it'll be dog shit.
What if it's like
talking about the broken DMR?
Yeah. Like
Like-
pre-nerf
Yeah.
DMR 14.
So like, I mean, I see what you're saying, but even still, the strength of that DMR was the damage and how fast you could shoot it. Like, sure, you had to click it a bunch or pull the trigger a bunch, whatever, but that was still its strength. Like, if without the fire or with the fire rate being that low, or potentially,
but
being
they
so
always
low.
add barrels to like those guns to increase fire rate. So
I don't think no ARs had those though. That's only like tac rifles and stuff, like burst guns.
And like shotguns and shit.
True.
So,
No,
I mean,
no,
unless
well-
they change that, then I think we're just looking at a gun that's not going to be any good in Warzone. I mean, multiplayer maybe, but
I'm
Warzone
hoping this is like the M4A1 like SOCOM rounds with
No.
like
It's gonna be like the Odin. It's literally gonna be like
Yeah.
the Odin, and it's gonna be
Yeah.
fucking terrible.
is the Odin automatic?
when you die to it.
Yeah, the Odin's automatic, and it's fucking horrendous, by the way. So if you like the Odin, you're dumb shit, and you should unsubscribe from this podcast and play a different video game. But if you like the Odin, you can get excited for the C58. Now we also have the
Odin's
MG.
automatic?
Shut the fuck up. We have the MG82
There's
coming to
room
the
for Odin
game.
lovers here, Boopsy. Don't drive them away.
Fuck you if you like the Odin. We have the MG82 coming to the game. This one I'm excited for. This is a high fire rate, high mobility, light machine gun. Now,
Real quick, what does it make you think of? What gun does this sound like? That's already in the game.
it sounds like a Bruin. Yeah.
Exactly.
So for those of you who
figured
were
out the
around,
same thought.
for those of you who were around 6 months ago playing this game, you'll remember how fun and exciting the Bruin was. I didn't play at this point, but I've heard and I've both heard and watched gameplay from this era, and I mean, it wasn't the most cancerous meta this game's had. That of course is reserved for the AUG/DMR Dark Days, but
Shout out to the guy that got Mythic into the Bruin right here.
true, yeah. Was
Old
that
Timmy?
Timmy the Fat Man? Shout out to
Timmy
Tim,
the
friend of the
Timbo.
podcast.
Bro, I loved him.
Friend
Dude.
of the podcast.
Yeah.
If you ever
I
hear this-
wish.
Friend of the podcast. He
Here's
grew up
hoping
right
it
down the
will.
road from me, dude. We're basically neighbors.
Yo, let's get Timbo, Nikki, and fucking Franklin Turtle on the fucking pod.
Moving on. So they're also adding a nail gun into the game. Now this will be terrible, but it'll be just as viable as like Cali sticks, which is to say obnoxiously so.
You think?
Yeah, I do.
It's
I
gonna
mean,
be
I think
I
it's
haven't-
viable as the crossbow. It's a
I haven't
fucking
seen
it's
enough
a
on these, like-
crossbow, but in your one-handed instead of two.
From what I heard, they want them to be viable, like in Cali stick range. So I mean, I guess that's why you're saying that. But like, I'd never die to somebody with a riot shield and nail guns, dude. I'll be even more mad than Cali sticks, I think.
If I die to the nail gun in Verdansk, I'm 100% throwing this Logitech mouse through the window to my left. Those are my thoughts on the nail gun. I hope it's dog shit, but I have a feeling it simply won't be. It's
I
going to
could-
be like a shotgun, I
Could
think.
be my primary.
It's going to be a street sweeper, but it's going to have like it's going to be a high skill street sweeper. So you actually have to aim with it, but it'll be exactly as obnoxious as a street sweeper, I think.
What if it's broken?
So they're gonna Activision's gonna hear our podcast, get real excited about this hard stuck podcast up and coming, and they're gonna put a blueprint in the game, and it's gonna have my logo on the side of it. That's what I'm hearing,
There's no shot.
bro. It's a high skill street sweeper. I'm good at the video game. I love the street sweeper. What up?
Okay. So the last weapon, right, that they're adding in isn't actually a weapon. It's a cosmetic skin for the melee, and it is of course a mace. So if you get excited about melee weapons, here's your chance to Pepe clap in the chat, but I don't give a shit, and neither should you. Mid-season, they're gonna also add the OTS 9 SMG in. I assume this is gonna come with like Season 4 Reloaded or whatever the fuck they're gonna call it. This is a high fire rate, small mag capacity SMG. So think like a Mac 10 with like a higher fire rate and half the mag, which could be really good. But like you're gonna think like an AS Val. It's a tiny little, it's a pocket AS Val basically, which could be good. I'm actually kind of excited for that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if I mean, I'm sure that there'll be mag options. So like, how many bullets can you get into it? That's what I want to know. That's the important part for that gun.
Yeah,
they
for
don't
sure.
talk about damage at all either. So
No, they probably honestly don't know yet how they're gonna
true.
balance it. Like that's probably why it's not coming until mid-season. They're probably waiting because. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say if I had to guess damage wise, it'll probably be right in line with like a Mac 10 or LC10.
Well,
maybe.
the Mac 10 has been nerfed into fucking oblivion. Like,
well, yeah, but that's because the fire rate is insane. So like,
okay, so
they have to keep it on that same line. I'm sure.
So real quick, with SMGs, particularly in Warzone right now, we're actually in a very good spot. So like you can use almost any SMG you want in Warzone. You can use any of the Cold War SMGs, save for like a Milano. If you use a Milano, I think you're dumb shit. But any other SMG from Cold War, at least you can use. And like, dude, I don't know, man. A KSP in the right hands, like it's not actually a bad gun. It's high skill because it's burst. And it doesn't have like range, but there's no recoil and it does a lot of damage. I think you can like 2.5 burst people full plated.
I mean, yeah, I see. You said high skill, but even still, like if you miss, you lose. Like
that's why it's
unlike
high
other
skill.
guns, I know. I'm just saying, like the other guns, if you miss, you have room to make up for sure, but it's just not worth it. I don't think the difference in damage is going to be enough to justify bringing it over the rest of the SMGs. So.
Be that as it may, you can't argue the fact that the SMG balance right now in Warzone is probably the best it's ever been. Like sure. prior to like this past season and prior to the Cold War integration, we'll say the only SMGs that were really worth running was like the MP5 and the MP7, right? For the most part.
You see a Bison every now and then from MW.
Sure. Yeah, sure. But like right now, like I see everything from like an MW MP5. I still see the odd MP7 every now and again, if like paired with like a Car 9 because it has no recoil and it's got decent damage range. You see a lot of PPSH, LC10. You see a fuckload of Mac 10s running around there. You got the occasional Bullfrog. You got the occasional AK-74. There's just tons of SMGs that are viable right now, and I love that about this game at the moment. So I think they're waiting to see like what comes out as the top dog for TTK and what's the most popular, and then I think they're gonna throw this one in the mix like somewhere up on the high end towards the high end for TTK. But because it has such a low mag capacity, I think that's gonna be like one of the balancing factors. So this might end up being like the best as far as TTK goes, but I don't think a lot of people will run it because it has a low mag capacity. So you're gonna have to reload like every time you fucking down somebody. And you probably won't be able to thirst people very efficiently with it either. So those are my thoughts on it. I'm excited for that gun though.
Like I said earlier, it just depends on how many rounds you can get with an extended mag. That's what that one's going to come down to for sure. Yes,
I definitely agree. So those are all the guns that are coming. Pretty cool. A lot of cool stuff coming. There's also, they're adding what they're calling satellite crash spots around the map. This isn't like a big POI change. It's just like adding like debris basically in multiple places around the map. People are speculating that there's going to be high tier loot at these crash sites and that you'll probably also be able to like do a challenge or like a contract or something to like interact with those things and get like fucking cosmetic shit that's tied into the event for the season or whatever. I don't care about any of that shit. As long as there's good loot, I'll land there. And then they're adding the red door mechanic, which we talked about last episode briefly. They haven't really said what the red doors are going to do, but it's speculated that they're going to be a fast travel mechanic, which I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the idea, but there is a world in which they implement this in a way that it's not dog shit, and if that's the case, I'm okay with it. I just, it's Activision, so I don't have very high hopes. What are your thoughts on the red doors, boys?
I was watching Tim earlier, and he was going through these, and he said that for some reason or another, whether he knows or doesn't know, or he's just guessing, he said he thinks they're going to be random. So, like, you go into a red door, you just pop out of another red door somewhere in the zone, I guess, I would say at least. It's going to be entirely random. But if it's that, I think they're going to be pointless. Like, how many? Only if you're going to try to run away from somebody is it useful.
Catch me holding the exit to a red door with a street sweeper 10 out of 10 times. I'll be sat there with a fully loaded street sweeper with stopping power in it, just with my cock in my left hand and my shotgun in my right hand, ready to fucking go. That's how that's going to play out in my lobbies, by the way. Mythic, what are your thoughts?
My rifle, this is my gun. That's all I can think about right now.
Yeah, that's it. That's absolutely me.
I don't know. I don't know. If they're gonna be random and like I feel like
that's not confirmed. That's just speculation. I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like the balance and they got to be random, like because
Right.
then you can just have like your entire like squad just go through the same door, just like dip.
Well,
Like,
so that's kind of a problem though, right? If their arc entirely random every single time you go through the door, if you all four go through a door, they're going to be useless in quads, right? I mean, if you just end up in four corners of the map,
it either costs 0 money and it's completely random, or you buy it and you choose where it leads out, and then that is the portal. It opens a portal from those 2 points for like the next 15 seconds, and then your whole squad can go through. Those are the two options I can see being possibilities.
my only problem with it is the fact that I feel like there's already like, I don't want to say it's a problem because it's really not, but it pisses me off, so it's a problem. Just like when you like crack somebody and then they just run and run and run and run. And it's like, I have been following you all the way from Farmer Dan's land to the fucking village outside of stadium. Like, stop running.
why
Like,
are you running?
yeah, like, I just hate when like people just run, and I feel like that's just gonna, add to that problem.
Yeah, I could definitely see that being an issue as well. I have a feeling there's not going to be a lot of these around the map. Like, you'll probably have, like Gohan said, like, it's probably going to be like one in each of the 4 corners, and then they'll probably put one middle of the map, like Stadium or something. You'll probably have one down in Port, you'll have one up in Salt, you'll have one out in Summit, and you'll have one down in fucking whatever the fuck's down there.
I don't see them being useful enough.
So what this can do, what would be really cool is if it is like a direct path, it will make landing more spread out, because then I can land like Millie, or like, so let's say like circle is like downtown and like Boneyard down. Like, because we get those fucking circles all the time where it's literally like an eighth of the fucking map is left. And you're like, okay, cool. And so that would make it possible for me and the boys to land out in like Summit or like Prison, if we just want to have like a slow game, to like land elsewhere. I mean, even for people who like those slow games where they land like way out of zone and like those kind of things. So I feel like it can make like downtown less of a clusterfuck, Superstore less of a clusterfuck, making it so there's not 75 people left after the first zone closes.
Yeah, I could see that being the case too. At the end of the day, we're gonna have to wait and see exactly how this plays out. But like I said earlier, I could see this being, there is a world in which this is implemented in a really good way, and the game is better off because of it, or it could just be the worst fucking thing I've ever seen, and nobody will use them, and then it won't affect the game at all. So, either way, I'm okay with it, basically, because if it's dog shit, no one will use it, and it won't make a difference, and if it's good, then it's good, and it's a good change to the game. So we'll just wait and see. A couple days, we'll figure it out. Do you guys think they're gonna leave Nakatomi Plaza in the map,
it's
or
been
do you think that's
confirmed.
going away?
I think it's been confirmed
That it's gonna stay.
staying. Yeah, that it's staying, and then I don't know why.
Are
That
they gonna
building just
finish
awful.
Are they gonna finish the fucking construction on it?
No, if you do that, there's no way to get in half the building. So
True. I'm actually okay with this. Now,
really,
I'm not a
I
fan
figured you would
of
be more against this than everybody else.
No, I'm not actually. I'm not a fan of the building. So, I hate the map design because there's too many tall buildings to begin with, right? But it's not as if they put this this doesn't piss me off as much as Array does. Cuz what Array is it's just a random fucking the tallest thing in the map in the middle of nowhere. So if you're anywhere near it, you're just getting sniped at and there's no cover. What this is adding a high point to what already is the worst part in the map, which is downtown. So it's like it's not like it really changes the way downtown plays out, and I don't play there anyway. But what this is going to do, and what this has done, is it's kind of spread out like the hot drop zones. So like Mythic was saying, like Superstore, Storage Town, all those high PvP places. I think this is just adding another one of those where it's like, hey, you can get a fuckload of money and a fuckload of loot here, but you're gonna have to fight people for it. I think the more of those places on the map, the better off they'll be. Because it just spreads players out more and it makes for better engagement throughout the course of a game where half the lobby isn't dead before the first circle closes because 10 teams landed Superstore and only one made it out. You know what I mean?
That's fair. I mean, I just hate downtown's bad enough as is, but that building compared to the other buildings are it's impossible to challenge. Like,
yeah,
you have to be looking straight up. Like,
don't go to downtown.
Right.
Simply stay away.
You shouldn't be taking those gunfights anyways. But I'm just saying that like it makes what's an already bad situation worse. That's what I like about it.
Yeah,
true,
but I mean,
it's not as if
downtown end games.
It's not as if downtown without Nakatomi Plaza is playable anyway. So leave the dog shit in there and let people enjoy. If that's what you like is dog shit map design, then go crazy. I don't care. I'll still avoid it like the plague.
I'm just shocked that's your opinion because that's never your opinion on stuff. That's crazy.
So in a perfect world, in Boopsy's perfect world, right? I'm king for a day and I get to make any change to the video game I want. The nuke drops on downtown instead of stadium. And we have an entire different map right now where there's no fucking 14-story buildings. Anything bigger than like green is not in the video game at all. That's my perfect world, but that's not the world we live in. So in the world that we live in, where there's already dog shit downtown and Array in my fucking video game, if you're gonna add 95-story buildings, put them in downtown. I will just steer clear, just like I have, and will continue to for the duration of this video game. So, like, I don't really give a shit if they get rid of it or not. I think by keeping it in, it's doing the rest of the map a service by taking those dumb shit Sweatlord players who just want to drop MFAM window and emulate Nick Merckson swag out of my fucking Farmer Dan's land so I can land and get my scav and get my goddamn loadout without getting pushed by some dumb shit with a street sweeper. That's my take.
Fair point. I mean, like I said, I just hate it. But
it's terrible. It's a terrible fair. POI, but I'm never gonna land there, so it doesn't affect me in a negative way. So anyway, moving on.
Speaking about terrible shit. ATC Tower and fucking airport. There's unchallengeable, like borderline unchallengeable, like the fucking Nakatomi Tower, like that's borderline. Like you can like airstrike it and run up the stairs and like your boys can like, figure something out. There's only one way up, I guess technically too. The other one's fucking impossible. But there's only one way up to fucking ATC. And so I'll be walking out of the game with 2 kills and 3,000 damage. Like, what? Huh? You can tell I fought a team at ATC because they were sniping at me and I'm better than them. And so I downed them 60 fucking times and they're out of plates. And like, they're up there fucking ass ramming each other with a fucking stem. Just like, oh, we're going to get up. We're going to win this sniper fight. They cracked me 1 time. I've downed them 30 times. Like, it's
in
stupid.
Downtown's defense, at least you have cover. So There's no cover on ATC. If you're anywhere near there, they can see you. You're just dead. As long as they can hit you. I mean, if they're set up, there's a good chance they can't hit you. So
Oh, they're the closest buy station's in the middle of airport. Oh, there's 3 people running car 98s and fucking ATC. Well, GG's.
right.
True.
So glad we got 10 grand a piece so we can go get loadouts. And the only buy is a fucking airport.
True. Okay. Dog shit map design aside, we're moving on. This I'm hoping is going to be a good change. They're replacing the standoff gulag with a hijack themed gulag. Now, the standoff gulag is the worst I've ever seen in my life. It's terrible. It's dark as fuck. It's asymmetrical, meaning one side has an advantage over the other depending on how the two players choose to engage. It incentivizes rat gameplay and rose skins, and it makes me absolutely fucking furious. So they're replacing that with hijacked. Cool. Hopefully they turn the fucking lights on. That's all I really want. Thoughts?
W. I think it's a W.
So we're talking about like hijack, like the fucking yacht, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
It's coming to multiplayer, and then they're changing the gulag to.
And so
we
so-
don't talk about multiplayer on this podcast, by the way.
So it's
I'm
gonna
joking.
be like out.
Joking.
It's gonna be outside, right? Like, is that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure from like the small pictures that I've seen, it's literally like the center where like the hot tub is, and it has a little walkway that like in the middle, like where you can cross sides.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I can't confirm the side on the left from what I've seen. I don't know. It might be there, but I guess it's mostly just that middle section, which is huge. I don't know if it's you start in the back and you can go up to the windows or anything, but
That's gonna be. I really hope it's not like just the middle section, because then it's gonna be people like playing in like the like lower dining room areas or like the workout areas and like the upstairs part, and people are like, "Oh, are you gonna push me? Because I'm not moving."
well, that's
But
why I'm hoping it is literally just the middle, like where the hot tub is, so that way you start on both sides and you have that small area.
There's not a hot. There's not a hot tub in the middle. There's a hot tub on the back. There's
There's a hot tub on the right side, is there not?
So no. So there's like a. Oh, I guess there's a like jump up one, because there's like
Yeah,
that big one
that's
in
what
the
I'm talking
back
about.
or the front. I don't know what side it is. And then there's like that jump up one, and then there's the and
There's the jump
that-
up one with the little ladder on the right side, and then on the left side.
hopefully
there's
they
a
do that
little
part
walkway.
right too, because that was like head glitch to galore in fucking Black Ops 2. You could head glitch that for a day and a half.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and then like the
That's actually
gazebo
funny.
part too.
I didn't even think
And,
about
like,
this. Boopsy doesn't know this map. He actually has no idea what this map is. We're just talking about a map from like was it Black Ops 2, right?
All I
Initially?
want is turn the fucking lights on, and I'm happy. I don't give a
so
shit
it's
what the map looks like.
So if it's just the middle part, like Gohan's saying, that it's gonna be outside, which is nice. And then like there's only like one like covered area or two. There's like a gazebo part that has like disco party lights going on, so that's cool.
Change
Like,
it.
but I mean, it's gonna be lit, bro. And like,
Yeah. Okay.
like there's gonna be fucking lights on in there, and so you're gonna see shit. And then the other part is like a gazebo with like those like mesh whatever.
There is a near 0% chance that this gulag is good, but if they turn the lights on, I'll be happy. So we're moving on. We have a lot to cover today, so we're simply moving on. We'll talk about how it is next episode when we've played it. Sounds good?
All right.
They're adding a new vehicle into the game. It's a dirt bike. Who gives a shit? Whatever. It doesn't matter. They're adding a couple new game modes. The one that's coming at the beginning of the season is called Verdansk Resurgence Mini. Now, if you played Mini Royale on whatever the fuck, a Rebirth Island, it's kind of like that mixed with Resurgence, but it's on Verdansk. So it's going to be a smaller circle, lower player count. If anyone's left on your team, you'll respawn after 30 seconds or whatever. It'll be fun. It's whatever. Who gives a shit?
I think this will be a good time. Just
What was, like-
if you're chilling.
What was that game mode that you, Screwy, and I played? It
That was
seems very very similar to
Resurgence.
this.
That was
it?
Resurgence Trios. Yeah, that was
No.
on Rebirth Island.
No. I was talking about with Gohan. So it was me,
Oh,
same
Gohan,
thing.
and Screwy. Was it that? Okay.
Yeah, same thing. Where like if you die but your teammates stay alive, you get to come back.
Okay. So instead of it being Verdansk It's gonna be fucking Verdansk 84 or whatever, right?
Instead of it being
Rebirth.
Rebirth Island with Alcatraz and stuff, like it's going to be Verdansk.
Right.
Don't be excited for this. It's not going to be that great. Moving on. Okay.
Yeah, it's just
so,
it'll just be fun every now and then if you're just bored.
So moving on to the main top, or I guess we'll go through this. They're putting in a game mode mid-season called Payload to Verdansk. It's 40 players escorting a payload through a series of checkpoints. So if you've ever played Overwatch, you know how dog shit that game is. It's like that. It's gonna be terrible. Don't get excited. Don't hold your fucking breath. Moving on, of course. Warzone. Okay,
Hanzo.
it's main topic time, boys. So I basically sat down through the past couple nights and I wrote out all my thoughts because I hated Warzone for the longest time. I still am not a huge fan of it, but it's the only game anyone fucking plays anymore, so here I am. So I wrote down all the things about Warzone that are not terrible, and basically was doing like a little brainstorm session with myself trying to figure out why this game has superseded all other battle royales to be like the most popular game among streamers on Twitch. And it seems to be like the most popular first-person shooter, except for like maybe Valorant and CS:GO. But those are completely different style. They're like competitive shooters, of course. So what I've written here is Warzone is currently the most popular battle royale and is consistently at the top of the Twitch directory. Clearly, there's a lot of things that make this game more popular than other battle royale games out right now. So let's talk about them. The first thing I have written down is that the game, Call of Duty in general, but more specifically Warzone, has a very low barrier to entry. And I'm not just talking about the fact that the game is free to play. What I mean by this is that the game has a very low skill ceiling relative to other FPS shooters, other shooter games, at least on PC. It has a low skill ceiling and a high skill floor, meaning the gap between the best player and the worst player in this game is smaller than the gap between the best player and the worst player in a game like Counter-Strike, Rainbow Six Siege, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, even like Apex Legends, games that have more complex movement and fighting or shooting mechanics, stuff like that. This game has a smaller skill gap than a lot of other games out right now. Mythic, I'll give you your second in just a moment. Let me finish this thought. You can pick this game up for the first time and do relatively well. You can do a fuck of a lot better in your first game of Warzone than you would do in your first game of Counter-Strike or like Rainbow Six Siege or any of those more complex shooters. That's basically what I mean here. Now, I'm not saying there aren't great players who play Warzone. There are players that are far more skilled than I am. But what I am saying is if you put me versus whoever you think the best player in Warzone is, and then you put me versus the best player in Rainbow Six Siege, I'm getting shit on 99 out of 100 times in Siege, and I'm only getting shit on like 80 out of 100 times in Warzone. I'm pretty sure that's an undisputed fact, but if you have anything to add, now's your time. Mythic, you look furious, so I'm going to let you go first.
I don't know. I feel like if you were to go against like Symphony, Clocky, Nicky Merckx,
I'm dying 80 out of 100 times.
I feel like the number's higher there, though. That's what I'm saying.
It might be, but it's not as high as me versus Bolo in a 1v1 in Siege.
I agree, and I also agree with Boopsy. I think 80 out of 100 times is a good number because I don't think it depends on the situation for sure. But like if you're in the gulag, say you're running the same gulag over and over, 80 out of 100 times. There's only so many options they have to try to kill you, and then eventually you're gonna find one way to beat them every now and then. So like.
One out of every five gunfights against a more skilled player than I am, I'm going to win even though I'm worse than them. That's what I'm saying. Just because of the mechanics in this game.
We died to people we were worse than all the time. Or people worse than us, sorry, all the time.
And I kill people who are better than me all the time too. Yeah. So like, I'm not trying to say the game's bad for this. I'm just saying it's unarguable that this game has less of a skill gap than like Siege or like Valorant. It just, there's no way, and I'm not faulting the game. This is on my pros list, right? This makes it more accessible because The skill floor, you can only be so bad at Warzone. If you're on a controller, it aims itself, for fuck's sake. So you can't be homeless in this game. There are no homeless people running around Verdansk. Anyone can kill you. Whereas in Siege, I could literally lean spam and fucking crouch at people who will empty 4 mags without landing a single bullet. I've done it. It happens in that game. Like, there are people who cannot kill me no matter what I do. I could sit there and run circles around them for 40 minutes and they wouldn't fucking kill me. That isn't the case in this game. So, but again, this isn't a bad thing. This is not how I would design a game, but this does allow for a much bigger audience to play the game, because you can pick the game up and be better at this game than you could pick the game up and be better at another game your first round in. So it makes it very accessible. That's Call of Duty in general.
Yeah, it's what they've done well their entire existence. That's why they're able to make a new game every year, and every single year, even if people aren't excited about the game, they still buy the game. Like, that's why, because they allow it's good for everybody.
So I guess my knee-jerk reaction was like, you're wrong, but you've talked me into it, because like, just thinking about it more, like even like CS:GO and all those, like I'm not great at CS:GO, but there are people who are way better than me, and there are people who are worse than me, and I'm just like shocked. So I'm like, how are you worse than me? I don't even have like 1,000 hours in this game, and you do. Like, there's people that we know, not going to name names, who in Siege have more hours than me and are god awful at the game. Like it blows my mind. It's like, how are you worse than me? Like, I come back to Siege to go dick around with my friends when I'm bored, and I'm like, this game's terrible. But they just like seem like they haven't grown at all, and it's like, how? Which I totally understand. Like, I mean, people do hit like their own like ceilings, I guess. But yeah, there is that gap, because looking at like just to throw out like big names in Siege, like Bolo, Foxay, Canadian, like even like I mean, there's tons of other people like Bio who are just like super good at the game, and there is that huge game skill gap, and that, I guess that doesn't necessarily exist as much in Warzone.
Now, let me be clear. I'm not trying to say there's no skill gap in Warzone. There certainly is. But let's call the gap in Siege 0 to 100, right? You can be complete dog shit or you can be a fucking god. In Warzone, it's like 35 to 100 or 35 to 90, right? So like, there still exists a skill gap, and there is always going to be certainly room to improve, and like better players and worse players. I'm not trying to argue against that. What I'm saying is that gap between the best and the worst is smaller in this game than it is in other games, which makes the game more accessible to people. And I think that's a fairly reasonable point. And again, I think it's a good thing for the game's health overall, because it's bringing in new players at a faster rate than other games. So that's my first point as to why this game is popular. Now, my next point is that the game does a really good job of giving you and your squad mates the tools to stay engaged throughout the entire match and between matches or throughout multiple matches. Mechanics like the gulag system, contracts, and being able to buy teammates back are the 3 things that came to mind immediately. You know, if you die once, you get your gulag, you have instantly another chance to get back in the action. Even if you lose the gulag, you have every opportunity to be bought back by a teammate. And even if you're the type of player who isn't into like pushing and rushing teams and getting bounties and UAVs like we are, you can just fucking go out and do contracts, and you can get a bunch of intel and you can get a bunch of money to give yourself every advantage for the late game as possible, like a Recon Andy, like an absolute fucking shit rat, which is fun and exciting. And it works really well. We got a win doing the Recon Andy strat last night.
We did fry too, though. So we fucking destroyed everyone on the map, of course. But what I'm saying is, even if you're not a great player, there are still things you can do within a match of Warzone to like keep yourself engaged in the game and have a good time, which is, I think, a really good thing about this game. Throughout all its flaws,
They do this really well. Thoughts?
Also, I guess that just the way you can like do like recons and those kind of things, it discourages like rat plays. So like just comparing this to like another like battle royale like Fortnite, right? Like, did everybody here play Fortnite at some point in their life? All right. So like when it gets to like the like second to last circle before it starts moving, what is everybody doing? They're going up the hill with their fucking, Barrett
4,000
50
mat.
or
Yeah.
yeah, and max mats, and they're towering up in metal, and then they're connecting their one by ones, and you have 4 squads sitting up top with snipers and just holding everything around them, right? Like, and people do that all the time. Like, people will like one by one up and like wait for like the zone to like make them move. So, like that was like kind of like the biggest like downfall of, or not downfall, but like the biggest like fuck Fortnite point there. But you can, and like that was just how you had an advantage though, because you had a better position and you could give yourself a better position, right? Like in Warzone, if you want like the high ground, you have to like move to it and you have to like hold it and you have to like clear the building, like if you want to go up into like Nakatomi Tower or even up on like top of array, you have to do something. You can't just like land there and then like just let shit happen, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, undoubtedly, this game, the skill gap in this game is more so in like positioning than it is in aiming, it feels like. So like if you have the game sense and the positional awareness to like move your team through the path of least resistance to the most optimal spot, you have an advantage upon over every other map on the, or every other team on the map rather, even if you're worse than them at the mechanical skill of aiming. So the players who are really good, like I don't know if anyone here has watched the streamer OP Marked or like it's underscore iron. Those two come to mind immediately. They're like the top of the leaderboards as far as like wins in Warzone go. If you exclude all the hackers, they are like hold like the most amount of wins in the game. And what they generally do is they will do like a few recons towards mid game till they get to the circle that moves, and they'll just position themselves in the most advantageous spot in that last circle, and then they'll sit there with snipers and kill everyone else in the lobby. So like their game for the first half of it, it's like not very fun to watch because they're just getting themselves set up. But for the last 5 to 7 minutes of the match, they're just constantly in gunfights and they're just shitting on everyone around them. But they're only able to do that because they have the awareness and the info to make that play happen. So
Well, it's
like,
kind of like
yeah,
it's
go
kind of
ahead.
like that clip of you and I where we came up behind those 2 kids who were sniping up on that hill, and you're like, "All right, we're gonna fry these kids like individually," and we did. And then like the way, like just like your PUBG sense, because you've played a lot more PUBG than I have. I have like 5 hours in PUBG. You have like 5,000, right?
Well, I
So,
have like 800, yeah, but
anyways, the margin's there. So like
I've
you've played
played
a
a
lot of
lot of battle
PUBG.
royales. I've played a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
battle royales. That's
Yeah, and
so
and like you've played a lot of PUBG, and that's like where you excel. And you were like, we're gonna play this end game like we're playing PUBG, and like how well that like the concept like worked. It just like we got screwed because we
got
rotated like
pinched.
well we rotated early
Yeah.
because we
So
had that
the
team come up behind us. But like if that team wasn't behind us, we win that game every time.
Yeah. So the instance that Mythic's talking about here is we were playing a game and the end circles, like the last 3 circles ended like north of farmland. Um and we were rotating up from the south from basically farmland. We crossed over by like just south of stadium, we crossed the river and then we rotated in through farmland and we got all the way up to the map's edge. And then Mythic's kind of like what do we even do here, we're in such a bad spot. So I said, okay, we're gonna play this like I would play a game of PUBG, because in PUBG I don't push every gunshot I hear like I do usually in this game. What I do is I play for positioning. So like if I hear two teams engaging ahead of me where I need to be, I will sneak my way up and I'll wait for that gunfight to come to a conclusion. So if the team that's closer to us, that's in between us and the other team, wins, we instantly, as soon as I see that shit drop in the kill feed, I start frying the people in front of me. Or vice versa, if the team on the far side of the team we have pinched wins the gunfight, we instantly swoop in and take the team that just lost loot, and we fry that other team before they have the chance to recover from the original fight they were in. So instead of third partying, like most people I think would just come up on them and start shooting on the first person they see, instead of doing that, you can kind of like sneak up in there and get yourself in a good position to win like the next fight. So it's not about getting the immediate kill, it's about getting the next kill. And how this played out was there was a team that was holding high ground and they were engaged with another team down the hill. So Mythic and I walked up the hill and we waited. We rotated around the building they were like in front of, and we got to a side where we had eyes on both players. We were playing duos. And I said, okay, so as soon as this guy reloads, the guy who's currently shooting, you shoot at the guy on the left, I'll shoot at the guy on the right. So we waited. As soon as he pulled reload, I said, go. And we each melted them. They were both dead within like 3 seconds. And we just took the high ground, which was like the most advantageous spot in the zone. And we ended up losing because another team did a similar thing to what we were doing. But I think a lot of people could benefit from playing that sort of style. And I think there's a lot of people who play Warzone who never played those other battle royales where you have to like actually think about your positioning more. So it's just, that's the one advantage, because I don't have like the best gun skill. I'm old and I'm shit at aiming, but I'm fairly smart as far as like positioning and stuff goes. Like my game sense is a lot higher than my mechanical skill. So that's how I win games, is by out positioning people generally.
That's something I've been working on lately too, is like, I mean, it's just positioning wise, because, you know, I'm the type of person, you guys play with me all the time. So like, if I hear gunshots, I'm ready to go. Like I don't care if I win or lose. Like I just want to shoot people. That's what I like about Warzone. But like, I learned from watching a lot of different streamers. Like, I mean, I spend most of my time watching Tim, but you know, he's bad.
Friend of the podcast.
But, you know. Anyways, and they play. I don't know how they do it, because he'll play with like Cloak and Nick, and they'll finish games with like 20 plus kills consistently. But if you watch them play, they play so slow. And I don't know how they do it, but like I've been trying to teach myself to play slower and just more patient, because like most of the time other people are going to make the mistake of sprinting up on you. And I'm not saying like right out in a corner, because that's not fun, but like just listening, like using your ears, listening, you know, taking what you know about where they are and where you are, what you can do about it, instead of just sprinting at them. I've been working on that a lot lately.
Yeah, so one thing I've been trying to instill in our friend group that we all play together quite frequently is I'm all for pushing every gunshot I hear up until the point where there's like 30 players left. Because at that point, we're in a position to win. Like, if we've made it to that point in the game, it's not too much of a stretch to say, hey, we could win this. So at that point, my brain switches from, hey, push everything, to get in the best position to win. Fuck gunfights, let's win the actual match. And by then we've had a good game. Like, we're all rocking like 8 to 12 kills usually, and we're like, you know, we've had our fun. So now it's like, all right, let's try and close out this win. And I think that's what a lot of streamers do too, but they have the advantage of, because they're like big streamers, they're getting stream sniped. Let's be real. So they don't have to push every gunshot. People will just come to them, and they can just kill the people who come to them. So that's why, like, even though they play a little bit slower than like we do, we're constantly sprinting in circles around the map, just pushing gunshots. They don't really have to do that because they're getting pushed constantly.
It's a fair point. I never thought about it that way. Like,
yeah, they're getting just pushed by teams who are just pushing just to push to be like, oh, I killed Tim, you know?
Like,
but
I mean, like, we'll have games where we'll have like 5k damage, but then like maybe combined 20 to 25 kills, and it's like, I don't even, like, what do we do? I just want more kills, that's all. I need to figure out the formula without having to go through being stream sniped, so I don't know.
True. Yeah, I think I like the way we do it, which is just basically buy as many UAVs as possible and pick up as many bounty contracts as possible, and then just push everything. That's a lot of fun. That's the most fun way to play this game, undoubtedly. But once you get to the point where there's like 30 people left, or like let's call it 10 teams left, then you kind of switch your brain to like, hey, all right, let's get to the high ground. Let's make some smart choices. Let's slow things down a little bit and get this win. That's exactly what we did last night. If anyone was, I think I was streaming at this point when we won. So you can go back and watch the VOD where we were playing quads. It was me, Gohan, Screwy, and another one of our friends, Josh. And we got a win up by Summit, just basically holding high ground and shitting on people below us. Because we did the recons at the beginning of the game, and then we took the firehouse up by Summit away from this sweaty team with street sweepers, and we shit on them, and then we shit on every team subsequently that came across our path, and we ended up winning that way. But we got to a point where I was like, hey, we're not going after those gunshots because we're in a good spot right now. Like, you guys need to settle the fuck down and lock it in, and we're just gonna sit here and win this game. And we did.
It's like the last guy. The last guy was in a Bertha in the tunnel, just waiting, hoping he got zone, and waiting.
He
for us
did
to, like,
get zone, to be fair.
Yeah, but I don't think he could go through. Does that tunnel go all the way through? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, well then he misplayed. But either way, you guys were like trying to go into the tunnel, and I was like, "You guys do what you want. I'm just gonna go get zone, so that way we don't all die to this guy."
Yeah.
So, yeah, just
Which it's exactly how it worked out. Well, actually, I dropped down and sniped him, and then he knocked me, but his plates were off. He probably had like 40 health left, and then Josh like bunny hopped around the corner and sprayed him down with an AR, so we ended up getting the win. Yeah, so that is all to say that there's multiple ways to play this game. You don't have to push every gunshot you hear, but that's like how we play it. But just because that's how we play, there's a million other ways to play this game and stay engaged throughout the whole thing, which I think they have done a very good job at giving people the option to play the way that they want to play. And almost every way of playing is viable. Like, if you want to sit on the tallest building with a sniper and snipe, I hate you, but that's a viable way to play the game, and you have every right to play that way. If you want to be a Recon Andy and find out all the intel you want, and then play for endgame, you can play that way. If you want to be a fucking chimp like we are and push gunshots and get recons or get bounties and fucking UAVs and push everyone like that, you can do that too. It's all viable, and it's all, make of it what you will.
Let's not forget, if you want to be that mouse, sit in the corner of a building the entire time and just pray to God you get zone, you can do that too. As you can see, Boopsy is not a fan.
Malding. All right. So, the next thing that this game has done well. I'm personally torn on this one, and I'll explain this before I turn it over to you guys, but the loadout mechanic in this game is undoubtedly one of the things that has made it as popular as it has, at least among content creators, because there's basically an infinite amount of content you can make around, hey guys, check out this gun build, or hey guys, the LC-10 or the PPSH or the Krig or whatever, the Cold War AK, like, this is the gun you should be using. You can make a new one of those videos every fucking day, and people will eat that shit up. That's what I do on TikTok most of the time, and people just eat it the fuck up because they're dumb. You're all dumb fucks. Anyways, so that's a great thing for content creators. It's going to keep them on this game longer than like any other game, basically. So on one hand, the consistency of being able to use your own weapons with your own loadouts and like attachments and shit that you made yourself and you are comfortable with is definitely beneficial for especially newer players. I'm thinking about a game like PUBG, which is really unforgiving for new players because of how hard the recoil is to manage, especially if you don't have the right attachments on your guns. And there's no loadouts in that game. So you have to physically find a compensator and a vertical grip and all that shit for your AR, or else it's going to be an uncontrollable mess. In this game, you don't really have to worry about that. Most of the guns have very low recoil. Well, every gun has low recoil compared to PUBG, but most of them have virtually no recoil. And you can certainly build weapons that are like laser beams for your loadout weapons if you're terrible at controlling recoil. And then you can have at least like a playable experience even if you can't control recoil or whatever. So that benefits low skill players alike to like content creators and stuff like that, just the versatility in guns. But on the other hand, I find the process of gathering money every game to be like really stale. I understand that no matter what battle royale you're playing, you're gonna have to loot something, but I like the thing I like the most about PUBG is that no two game, like I never have the same gun game in and game out. I have to make whatever I find work. And there's a certain amount of fun that comes with like, oh shit, I didn't find a Car 98 this game, so I have to play, a little bit different because I can't just sit back and snipe. I have to push people because all I have is UMP and an M4. So I have nothing for long range, so I have to adjust my play style accordingly. This game, it's like the only time it's like fun and interesting as far as like a diversity of gameplay goes, for me at least, is when I first land until I get my loadout. Once I get my loadout, I'm on autopilot. I'm just pushing people and frying with an AMAX, or pushing buildings and frying with an LC-10. And it gets kind of old for me at least. This is certainly a personal preference thing. I'm sure there's people out there that could use nothing but nothing but an AMAX and a MAC-10 for the rest of their gaming career, and they could be, happy as a pig in shit. But it just gets old for me. It's the same shit game after game. And the process of like gathering the money just to go get the same fucking guns every time. It's just like, you might as well just spawn us on the map with our fucking loadouts at that point. But I mean, again, this is probably my most controversial opinion. I'm not a huge fan of the loadout mechanic. I understand that is one of the things that makes this game as popular as it is, though, which is why I added it to the list. What are your boys' thoughts on the loadout mechanic?
Well, I can see where you're coming from for sure about like, doing the same thing every game just to get the loadout. But to me, one of the big things it does is like in other battle royales, you can get whatever you land on, you're stuck with. It still happens in this game all the time. But once you get to the loadout, you chose those guns. So if you're at a disadvantage ever, it's your own fault. Whereas like, I like that because I hate when I lose a gunfight because I was at a disadvantage because of some random thing that I was able to find or not find, Like that, I like to eliminate that. So that's the big pro for me on loadouts as far as that goes. I mean, as far as cons, you said it, it's just you do the same thing over and over and over again, it seems like. But in order to enjoy the game, you have to be doing that in this, for this game, not all games. But
yeah, I certainly agree with you on the point that it reduces the RNG in battle royales.
Yeah.
But that was like the main appeal of battle royales for me at least, was like, hey, anything could happen. You could like, some of the most fun I've ever had in video games is like landing in PUBG and only being able to find like a UMP and wiping a dude who had like level 3 armor, level 3 helmet, an AUM, and like a fucking kitted AK. And just like shitting all over him and being like, holy fuck, I just did that with a UMP. Now you can still, like, you could just use a ground loot, whatever. You could just use dog shit weapons. But like, I don't know, it's just, you're never put in the position where you have to like overcome that sort of like adversity unless you're on like a regain from a gulag or something, which I suppose is like the same feeling. Like if you land on in the building next to a team that's fully kitted out with loadouts and all you find is like a 30 round Farah and you're able to squad wipe them, like that's a pretty good feeling too. But it's just, it doesn't quite translate in the same way for whatever reason, for me at least. Mythic, what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
Oh, go on, go.
I was just gonna say real quick that for me too, like I enjoy Apex, and like Apex has a very limited supply of guns, so like that's another reason why I don't care as much as you do, clearly, about like running the same guns over and over again. Because in Apex, I try to always get an R301 and a shotgun, or an R99 and a sniper, something along those lines. Like I'm used to doing the same thing over and over again, I guess. So.
Yeah, I mean I'm gonna let you go here in a second, Mythic, but it's not as if in PUBG there's a ton of different weapons to pick up off the ground. There's like 4 different ARs and like 5 different SMGs, a couple snipers, a couple DMRs. Like that's pretty much it, and a few pistols. But like the weapons are like spread out enough and hard enough to come across. And then there's the like mechanic of like having to find the attachments too. So if you can find an AK, but a base AK with no attachments on it handles a fuck of a lot differently than like an AK with a compensator and like, extended mags on it does. You're in a way different position. But I can see pros and cons to each system. There's more RNG in the PUBG system, but it gets kind of stale. Now I will say, since Ravens took it over, the meta has opened up quite a bit, so you don't have to run the same gun every fucking game to do well. So that's a really good thing, and we're gonna get more into this Raven thing, and the current meta in my next point. But before we get into that, I'm gonna let Mythic go a little bit on his thoughts here with the loadouts.
So I guess like, see, I'm torn about it too because I like the fact that you can kind of control like your own fate in a sense. Like, I just go back to like comparing it to other like battle royales like Fortnite. Like if you go the entire game and all you can find is like a green AR and you've looted literally everything and you roll up on a squad with like 4 scars, like good game, right? Like just that RNG factor of like, oh, they found a scar and I couldn't find a better AR, or like they found a better shotgun than me, or when like double pumping was a thing, was like, oh, they found like another shotgun and I could only find this garbage gray tack. Like so that part I do like about like loadouts, but I also hate the fact that sweaty Timmy and sweaty Jimmy can go get their cars and Amaxes with 3Xs and go sit up on top of fucking whatever hill or tower they want to be on all game and just fry you from a mile away. So I guess like I agree with you. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
Hang on, real quick. We might want to save this for another time, maybe, because we have some stuff to get to. But like, what if the loadout, you couldn't buy your loadout? What if you had to get it from the drop? I think that would change it a lot too. Whereas like if you didn't have to gather the money to get your loadout in a safe spot, it was a risk reward thing. I mean, sure, everybody would probably still try to get their loadout, and you might try to rat out until it drops. But I think that would change a little bit of that staleness for you, Boopsy, of like having to get money at the beginning of every game, and doing it that way. And it's risk reward that way too.
I think, like, I like the idea of that, but I think the fact that the loadouts all drop mostly in like clusters, I think that would make for really toxic. That would incentivize like really toxic gameplay. Like I would just sit in a building near the loadout drops and wait for people to fucking come, and then I would just squad wipe people.
Right, but then,
whereas I don't think that really happens as much.
People, it would also incentivize more people to be away from like crowded areas often. Like that way your loadout, because the way they all drop together, like we know that if 3 loadouts drop in one area, there's 2 other teams there. Like,
yeah,
so it might cause a little bit more ratting out at the beginning of the game, but it could lead to a more rewarding experience when it comes to getting your loadout.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Like I said, this is a mechanic that I'm super torn on, because like on one hand, I like being able to like pick a new gun and say, oh, I'm gonna try out the AS Val, and like go into a game knowing, hey, I'm getting the AS Val and I'm getting sniper and I'm gonna play with those guns. That's really fun. But when there's been times in this game where like the meta is so strict that you have to run like certain guns, and that's when the loadouts get super fucking obnoxious, in my opinion. Right now, it's not really a problem. And I guess that leads us to our next topic. So the rate at which the game, specifically since Raven Software took over development, the rate at which the game has received balance patches is astounding, honestly. Like, they've done a phenomenal job. This is the only reason I gave this game another chance, is because Infinity Ward is no longer in charge of it, because I hated virtually everything they did with this game. The doof meta was dog shit. The fucking dual akimbo bullshit guns were dog shit. Virtually everything was terrible. The worst thing that's happened under Raven's watch was like the AUG meta, the M16 AUG meta, and that happened like right after the DMR changes. But it also happened at a time when like it was like right after Christmas, so like I'm pretty sure a lot of the devs were like on break or holiday or whatever, so they just weren't physically there to change it. But since then, they've changed anything that's like anything except for the Street Sweeper that's been like absurdly broken has gotten balanced almost instantly. Like within a week, things are fixed.
Lasted less than a week.
Yeah, the Psychobs were changed instantly. And they do the same thing with like guns that are underperforming too. Like the PPSH got a bunch of buffs to make it viable, because it was a new gun that they wanted people to try out. buff the damage, they buff the iron sights, you know. Raven has done a great job at opening up the meta, which kind of negates the issues I've had with the loadout drops. But you know, it remains to be seen whether that will continue to be the case or whether, you know, we'll see a super strict meta in the future. If it stays the way it is, then loadouts I don't have a problem with. But in the past, it's been a huge issue because if you didn't, there was a time in this game where if you weren't running a DMR 14, you might as well have not played the fucking game. So if you didn't have that gun leveled up, just don't fucking play. There's no point. Or like if you didn't have an AUG or an M16, just don't play the game. And a MAC 10 in your back pocket, just don't play the game. There's no fucking point. You're not going to win any gunfights. So
it's true. That's like when we started getting back into it, though. I mean, me and Mythic before we coerced you to the point you are now. You know, we were
like I
grinding
said,
through the DMR and the AUG. And, you know,
the only reason I started playing,
we weren't running either.
The only reason I started playing this game again is because I followed. So shout out to the Drop Shot Call of Duty podcast. One of my favorite podcasts I listen to. They cover everything Call of Duty between Warzone and like Cold War, Modern Warfare. They're covering the leaks for the new shit that's supposed to come out this year. Really cool guys, Razanon and Tanner. Cool fucking dudes. Casey, Tanner, if you hear this, you're gods. I love both of you. Through listening to their podcast, even when I wasn't playing, I kind of always knew like what the meta was and what the state of this game was. So I knew whether it was even worth installing on my computer or not. And when Raven took over, the praise that these two were giving, they're changing everything. They're making they're just opening up the meta. They're making everything better. They're listening to the community and making changes that are like benefiting the health of the game. They reduce the amount of stopping power on the map. They reduce the amount of Berthas and solos. Like they're doing so many things to make this game better than it was under Infinity Ward and better than it has been in the past, that it convinced me. I was like, hey, I'll give it another fucking shot. And I'm glad I did because I'm having a lot of fun with it now. Now it's still the worst game I've ever played by a long shot. Let's not get this shit twisted. It's a terrible game and no one should play it. But Raven's doing a really good job at making it more and more playable every week. Every patch they put out improves the game, which wasn't the case under Infinity Ward. Certainly wasn't. So, any thoughts, boys?
That I keep having right there too is like Infinity Ward. I feel like is one of the last. Well, Infinity Ward and Treyarch, but Treyarch's done better than Infinity Ward with most of their games.
Well, Cold War shit, kind of like,
yeah, true. But the rate at which Infinity Ward has ever had to update their games is nothing like with Warzone. Like that's part of the reason why I think Raven Software has been doing good. And like I think back to Modern Warfare 2, which is my favorite Call of Duty of all time. But it was an Infinity Ward game, and nothing ever changed in that game. Like it was the same. Every DLC that dropped, it was just new stuff. They didn't nerf anything. I mean, everything was so broken, and I think that's what they're trying to get to, or that like Infinity Ward's kind of stuck with is like, it's working. People buy our game. People play our game. So like, why are we worried about it? You know, I don't know. Maybe it's just a random thought that doesn't mean anything, but that's just kind of what comes to mind.
No. To be fair, the state of the video game industry right now, and specifically since Warzone has come out, all games are shit right now. They're all terrible. So like, even though Warzone was not good, it didn't have to be. There's no competition. There's no other BR that's doing anything any better. Apex is shit. PUBG is dying. Fortnite's been shit since the competitive scene became the only thing that mattered. If you can't fucking crank 90s at the speed of light, don't even play the game. So if you want to play a battle royale, Warzone's pretty much it. And that's what all your friends are playing, and that's what all your favorite content creators are playing, so you might as well just fucking play it. So I don't blame Infinity Ward. Well, I do. They're shit. They should all be jobless. But I don't really blame them for not making changes to the game, because why the fuck would they? It costs them money to fix things, and it costs them a lot less money to introduce a blueprint for a broken gun that they're going to sell. They're going to make $6 million a day on. And if they just leave it broken, people keep fucking buying it, because if you don't have it, you're going to lose. So like, I understand why they do it. I just wish it was different. But you know, video game developers exist to make money for the publisher. So Infinity Ward exists to make Activision money. So they're just going to keep doing whatever makes them money. And there's less money to be made making a balanced game than there is to make, to release a broken fucking anything and then sell a blueprint for it, because people aren't going to go load up Cold War to fucking unlock it, because that game's dog shit. So if you just release a broken gun and then a $25 bundle for it, so you don't have to sit there and unlock it, then you're chilling. You're going to make a fuck bunch of money. Mythic, what are your thoughts?
I guess I really don't have like much to add to what you guys have said. That's kind of why I've kept quiet. But yeah, yeah, I don't have anything to add.
Nothing.
To that.
Gohan?
No,
You guys,
Like I said,
yeah.
I just kind of
pretty much.
like I said, I think Infinity Ward is just kind of lagging behind with like the gaming era now. Like every single game that's big right now updates consistently, and like I think Infinity Ward, as far as that goes, just kind of lag behind and taking care of their game properly. So,
And it's crazy too, because they created Warzone. Like that was Infinity Ward's whole baby, but it's doing so much better under Raven than it did under Infinity Ward, which is just wild to think.
happens.
But yeah,
Unfortunately for them, it happens.
Yeah, for sure. So this is a related note. So the rate at which the game receives updates in general, basically talking about like adding in new guns, not map changes, because they don't change the map ever for whatever reason, which is another issue. But the rate at which new guns are added means that the meta has the chance to evolve constantly. It doesn't always change when they release a new weapon, but it has at least the opportunity to change. Now this is kind of one of those double-edged sword things, because they do add a ton of new content and new weapons, but there's very seldom any value added with the new weapons. Like the Cold War integration added a lot of value. It added a lot of viable guns once they fixed the attachments and changed the optics, of course. A lot of the guns from the Cold War integration are great, and they're like what you should basically be running as far as SMGs go, and you can make the argument for a lot of the ARs as well. The problem is there's so many guns in this game that just don't get used at all. So like I'm of the opinion that you could literally take out half the weapons from this game and hardly anyone would bat an eye. And that's not necessarily an issue. Like having guns in the game that no one will ever use or that aren't viable at all, it doesn't detract from the fun that is possible to be had in the game. But I think people get caught up in the fact that they're releasing new weapons all the time, and they're like, oh god, we got a new SMG. But it's like, yeah, but there's 8 SMGs that no one uses right now. So instead of spending the time making a new weapon, why wouldn't they just make the weapons that are already in the game better that way? Because like either way, there's more options to use, So but anyways, that it is what it is. Again, they haven't changed the map nearly as much as I would have liked to have seen. We're 14, 15 months into this game's existence. I'm talking about Warzone specifically, obviously. The map has changed. Maybe 20% of the map has had changes to it. Now they changed the lighting and made everything worse a couple of months ago, so that's a thing.
But like look a little retro.
Yeah, sure. Barely. They added cherry blossoms to the map, which is cool. But like they've what have they actually changed? They put the stadium in. They changed whatever was in the corner where Summit is now is no longer there, and Summit's there. They put a Ray in.
Damn, it's still kind of there. It's the same thing. There's
yeah,
no giant wall.
They haven't changed it. Like you look at a game like Fortnite, and through all Fortnite's flaws, they used to put a new point of interest in the game like every 4 weeks. Like every month there was like a new cool thing to go check out in Fortnite. And that was like the main reason I would play it. Like the gameplay was whatever, but like there was always something new to go check out in Fortnite. Which I think if this game did that, it would be really cool. Now, this game's so buggy, and they have like the issues where you can clip through walls and hide under the map and shit, that I understand why they don't change the map that often, because they're a terrible development team. They're incapable of doing something while introducing 60 bugs. So I get it, but like do better, put new shit in the map. It's getting old. It's getting real fucking old.
I think it's fair to point out too, though, that I kind of feel like, I mean, along with, of course, like the esports stuff, but that was kind of the downfall of Fortnite too, though, is because they would do stuff so often that they eventually just kind of ran out of good stuff to put in. So like the content slowly, very slowly over like a couple years got worse and worse to the point where like the content updates don't even matter now. Like people don't. I don't care what's going on with Fortnite. A lot of people don't, and a lot of people do, I guess. But I mean, if there's a new gun added to Fortnite, I don't care. I don't care anymore. If there's a new cool skin added to Fortnite, I don't care anymore. Like,
Yeah.
it's just they did it so much that it kind of goes both ways. I feel like.
Well, and also like changing like the POIs all the time. Like there was like what the people were asking for like ever. Were like, yeah, like the meteor, like when the meteor event happened, like or like the missile event, like we want Tilted gone. We want Tilted gone. Fuck Tilted. Tilted stayed in for another 3 seasons. It felt like, and then like they took out like some like really fun places to land. Like Moisty Myers was a good one. Like Greasy Grove. And I hated when they got rid of Greasy. Like I loved Greasy. That was my spot, man. Like I'd go there just on purpose. Like
That's not.
like
My point is too not to. It's not to disagree with Boopsy because like there's for sure it's been stale. The map's been stale for way too long. I agree, but I'm just saying that like just because you use Fortnite as an example is like I feel like if you do it too much, it can be an issue too.
For sure. I'm so all right. So here's where I'm going to defend what Warzone has done. So I don't know if you guys saw, but there went back before the map change happened. There was a leak for a Ural Mountains map that everyone thought was going to come to Warzone. You guys remember that?
I didn't see this.
So there was a leak that came out, and everyone thought the Ural Mountains was going to be a map in Warzone. Basically, what it was, or what they found out now, is that originally when Warzone was made, they were only planning on supporting it until Cold War came out, and then Cold War was going to have their own battle royale drop like in March or whatever, like a year after Warzone came out. They were going to basically do Blackout 2.0 from Treyarch, and it was going to be in the Cold War engine, and it was going to have all the Cold War shit. But once 6 months, 8 months into Warzone's life cycle, around the time Cold War dropped, they realized that Warzone was super popular and like the most popular thing they've done in a long time, and that people didn't like the Cold War mechanics, the Cold War engine, the Cold War movement. They didn't like any of that shit. I think they switched gears and they said, "Oh shit! If we move everything, if we stop supporting Warzone and we transfer all the players over to Cold War's battle royale, people are gonna mauled." So at that point, I think they scrapped that Ural Mountains idea, and they said, "All right, we'll just keep everyone on Warzone." But they didn't have enough time to make a significant change to the map in time for like when the change to the map needed to happen, which I think is why we ended up with Verdansk 84. Now, there's more leaks for the COD that's coming out this year. Supposedly, it's a World War II game. This has come out from like Tom Henderson. He's a well-renowned leaker. Apparently, it's going to be a World War II game, and allegedly, there's been leaked data showing that a new map will be coming at the time of release of that game for Warzone. But I'm pretty sure, because this new game is supposed to be using the MDub engine, so I'm pretty sure they're actually going to transfer the client over to that new game, and it's going to have a new map. And probably all the weapons that we've been using between MDub and Cold War will no longer be available, and we'll be stuck with the new weapons for the new game. But at least it'll still be on the same engine, but we'll have a new map.
I don't know.
That's what the leaks say. I don't know how I feel about it either. I haven't seen the map. I've just heard about it. So, but that all makes a lot of sense.
Being true. I can see most of that being true for sure.
It makes a lot of sense.
And it would be very weird too to mix the guns from Modern Warfare with the guns from the World War II game also. I mean, I could see them maybe dropping the Modern Warfare guns, keeping the Cold War guns, because then at least they're a little bit closer in area, But I would not like to just have a battle royale with World War II weapons. I would not. That would not be a good time.
Yeah, I have a feeling that they're in this spot where they're kind of like damned if they do and damned if they don't at this point. Yeah. Because
there definitely doesn't need to be 50 guns in the game. 50 of each type of gun in the game.
Yeah, I agree. And also, so like by the time, so say this game drops in November, like they usually do with Call of Duty. So by then we'll have been playing on the same map for almost 2 years. People are going to be pretty fucking sick of the map. We'll have been playing Battle Royale with MW guns for the same amount of time. Pretty sick of those guns, I imagine, by then too. I think one of two things could happen. They could either put in the new, like Warzone 2 comes out with the new Call of Duty, and there's a new map and new guns there, and then they leave the current Warzone servers up, and you can still play Verdansk on that client, of the MW client, the way we do right now. Or they transfer everything over from the current Verdansk, the current Warzone, to the new engine, or to the new client, and you can play MW and Cold War guns on Verdansk, and then the new map that comes out, you can only play with the new guns, or maybe the new guns and Cold War guns. I could see one of those two things is almost certainly true. But no matter what they do, I don't think they're just going to shut down the servers for Warzone. There's a 0% chance of that happening, I think.
I feel like you kind of run into a problem with splitting the community though, because there's gonna be a lot of people if they do something like that. There's going to be a lot of people that get bored of World War II guns really quick. I mean, that happens with literally every single World War II game that's come out in the last 10 years. I mean,
I
Call
completely
of Duty
agree.
World War II, it was fun for a few months, and everybody got tired of it. What was it, Battlefield 1, I think?
Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5, yeah.
People loved it, and then they got tired of it. Literally, that Enlisted game we played a few months ago. It was
dog shit.
It was an absolute blast the first day we played it. We had so much fun. Logged on the second day, we're like, God, this game sucks. And we both deleted it, like, instantly. It's just, people are tired of World War II games. There's just not, you don't get enough out of them, I don't think.
I mean,
Yeah.
they sound great in theory. Like, I mean, I honestly, like, you're like, oh, like World War II, like, I don't know. You just need to make the MG1 Grand fucking overpowered. Like,
So,
because everybody will use that. Because I will use it just to fucking reload every 5 seconds. Just ding, ding.
an important distinction to make here, and I just Googled this, the leak that I was talking about. I'll link it to you guys later. But the leak is that it's a World War II setting, but it's set in an alternate reality in which the war lasted a lot longer than it did in our reality. So like instead of ending in 42, the war went on until like the 60s. So technology in theory could have advanced, and especially it's like supposedly like the German side, the Nazis did a lot better in this version of the war than what really happened.
Cool.
And the Nazi scientists probably advanced weapons to the point where like they could compete with an AMAX or something. You know, like that's conceivable. Yeah. So I don't know. Obviously it remains to be seen how this is gonna shape out. I have a feeling, you know, just like the Cold War integration, no matter what they do, it's gonna be a fucking disaster for at least a couple months. But I'm excited to see what happens. You know, I think they're gonna be forced to do something well because the new Battlefield comes out this year. So if they do a terrible job with Warzone and the new Call of Duty, they're almost certainly going to lose a lot of market share and a lot of their player base to this new Battlefield because it looks sick. We'll get into that here in a moment. So is there anything else you guys want to add about the map?
Yeah, I also feel like there's like not this season obviously, but like next season, I can see them like changing the map, like just like because they added factory and like that's like on top of fucking Superstore, and I feel like Superstore, like something could happen to like Super and like downtown, and like, you know, somewhere else random, because I feel like things need to happen in threes, but just like changing like those like POIs, I guess.
Yeah, certainly something needs to change in
you.
Verdansk.
As long as they don't add zombies back to Warzone, I don't care. I'll play the same map. Just let's leave the zombies out. I don't want any of this. Anything to do with those guys.
That's fair. All right, so before we wrap up the main topic, there's a couple really obvious things that I saved for the end for why this game is as popular as it is. Obviously, cross-platform made this game wildly popular. The fact that I can play with my friends on console and they can play with friends on PC, that's huge. The Xbox and PlayStation kids can all play together. It's all a good thing. Now, I'm not a huge fan of cross input matchmaking in theory because of how hard it is to balance the inputs. Like, how strong does aim assist need to be so they can compete with PC without just it being blatantly overpowered? That remains to be seen. No game has really done it well, in my opinion. But that is what it is. That's a problem that I'm not even going to attempt to tackle. And then the game is free to play. So it being free to play means that anyone who wants to try it can try it. And if you like it, you're going to stick around. If you don't, you can just, you haven't lost anything by trying it out. So those two things are very obvious. But I will say the free to play aspect also plays into one of the worst problems this game has, which is the cheating problem. The fact that it's free to play and doesn't have an adequate anti-cheat, I'm not convinced it has an anti-cheat at all. Some people say it does. A lot of people say it doesn't. Either way, the fact that it's free to play means there's a fuck ton of cheaters in higher skill lobbies. A fuck ton. Like, I'm talking 1 in 3 lobbies that I play in as a 1.07 KD player has a fucking cheater in it. So I can only imagine what that's like for like 3.0 KD people, But that is what it is. Do you guys have anything to add on the free to play or the cross platform matchmaking before we move on?
No, I just kind of, I agree for the most part. It's nearly impossible to balance controller versus mouse and keyboard. Like, nearly impossible. So, as much as I enjoy being able to play with my friends, because out of my friends that I actually grew up with, I'm the only one that plays on PC. They all still have their consoles. If it wasn't for you guys, I would be playing with them all the time. And as much as I like to have that option, it's just something feels so broken whenever you die to a controller that just locks onto you. And
to be fair, I'm sure they say the same thing. Controller players probably say the same thing when they start shooting at me from 90 degrees to my left and I snap instantly to their head and down them with a Car9. Like, that probably feels like shit too. Yeah. So I'm not trying to say, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was playing a multiplayer game the other day and there were, people hot micing for absolutely no reason. And they
naturally
they were talking about they're like, yeah, my KD's so high now. We play against all these mouse and keyboard players. But I have a good multiplayer KD, and it's all controller kids. There's no mouse and keyboard players because they have the advantage when it comes to especially in close range stuff. A lot of times, I can hold my recoil a little bit better than you at a longer distance, and I can snap to you a lot quicker. But the people that have the controller with aim assist figured out are the best.
Yeah, they're so good.
I believe even the pros all still play on controller, right? There might be a couple that do mouse and keyboard now, maybe. But
so in CDL, you have to play on a controller. Up until this point, you don't have the option. But there are a couple pros who play CDL on a controller, and when they play Warzone, they'll play on mouse and key. Now, so I'm of the opinion that I think playing video games is a lot more fun on mouse and keyboard. Regardless of what's more balanced or what has the advantage, I have more fun playing mouse and keyboard because I have more control over what I'm doing in the game. Unless
you're driving a vehicle.
Yeah, I don't drive vehicles. I make someone else do it. But I like the fact that if I miss my shot, it's because I missed the shot. And if I hit a headshot, a nasty flick on someone, it's because I hit the headshot. It's not because my stick drifted 2 centimeters to the left to hit this guy when I didn't actually do it. Now, I'm not saying controllers don't deserve aim assist. If they didn't have aim assist, they would almost certainly not, you wouldn't have any fun in the video game. So I get it. One more thing I'll add real quick, just so people who are listening to this aren't malding and thinking I'm delusional. I understand that if this game wasn't cross-platform, my queue times as a mouse and keyboard player would be 5 times longer than they currently are. I understand that. There is way more people who play video games, and specifically who play Call of Duty. There's way more of you guys who play on controller than who play on mouse and keyboard. Consoles are a lot cheaper, they're more accessible, You can get a lot better performance off a $500 console than you can get off a $500 computer. I get it. I just, for me, I think it would be worth the trade-off to be able to have the option to disable cross-input matchmaking. But I understand that that's just not the world we live in. So I mean, it's fine. I think both sides would benefit from it.
So like forever ago, Nick Merckx came out with a like I guess like a comparison between aim assist in Fortnite, like when they like buff the aim assist, and like mouse and keyboard, and he like broke that all down. And because he plays on both, like he primarily plays on a controller, and I guess he's more of the advocate and like more of a voice for like the controller people, because he also plays on PC and can see those differences and knows those differences. But like there was a huge problem with aim assist in Fortnite like forever ago, and it's
L2
probably on
spam.
YouTube somewhere. Yeah,
L2 spam was a huge thing in Fortnite. You could just spam L2, which is your ADS button, and it would just like lock to people's chest, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, like I totally understand it, and like my biggest thing about like the aim assist and like all that like debate is people saying, oh, PC players just want to be superior over console kids and like blah blah blah. And it's like, it's not even like I want it to be superior. There's a difference between, I've said this 1,000 times, there's a difference between aim assist being a balancing thing and it being an advantage. Like they're like, and it's a hard line to walk. Like I'm not trying to like bash on controller kids, and I'm not trying to like oh, we should be better because we're on
Master
X amount of like we're on an X amount of $1,000 PC and you're on a $500 whatever prices for consoles are nowadays, like console. Like I don't want that to like, I don't know, like be the point you're hearing here, but it's just there's a difference between a controller being an advantage and it being a
balancing tool.
A balancing tool, because that's what it is, right?
It's supposed
like
to be.
At the end of the day, aim assist is in the game to balance playing against like PC players. Like I don't know. Like I've gone back and watched like my old like Black Ops clips, and I'm like, damn, aim assist is heavy.
Dude, the big problem though is that not all PC players are built equally. So if you're on a controller and you only have an 80-degree field of view, right? I'm sorry about that. It's unfortunate. But if someone steps into your 80-degree field of view and you click your ADS button, you're going to center on that person. You just will. If you're pushing your stick in the direction that they are and you aim down sights, your fucking reticle will hit their chest and it'll stick there no matter what they do. Unless you forcefully move it from them, it'll stay there with like very little input from you. Now, I'm not that good at aiming and I play on a mouse and keyboard. So it's fairly difficult for me to put my reticle on somebody's upper chest and keep it there while they're fucking slide canceling and moving and doing all sorts of shit. I have to physically move my mouse with them. Now, there are players on mouse and keyboard who that's not a problem for, and they won't miss a shot. But I miss my shots in those situations. The problem is that a controller player who puts their reticle on me, no matter how much I move, isn't going to miss their shots. That's what frustrates me the most. It's like, I could just get better. Sure, I could be better at aiming and then I wouldn't miss my shots, but they don't have to get better. They just have to hit L2 and then not move away from me. And they're just going to beam the shit out of me. I've plugged in a controller on this game. I know how it works. I'm not talking out my ass here. Again, it's not the controller player's fault. It's a balancing tool to make sure you guys can compete with controller players. But like me, as a slightly above average mouse and keyboard player, my KD is in the top like fucking 11% or some shit. I still miss shots that controller that I wouldn't miss if I was using a controller, which is the biggest problem. But we'll move on. We'll have a whole episode about this topic in the future. So that wraps up our main topic for today, which is ostensibly what Call of Duty Warzone has done well. I'm thinking in the next month or so, we'll have another episode that is what Call of Duty Warzone has done terribly. And that will probably be twice the length of this podcast, which is already a long one. But we'll get there when we get there. There's one more topic I wanted to bring up for today. We'll go quick on this one because we're running real long here. Battlefield 2042 has dropped both a cinematic reveal and a gameplay reveal where they showed gameplay and shit. I know Gohan's watched it. I'm not sure if Mythic's had the chance just yet, but I certainly watched it. And I've got to say, if I'm a diehard Call of Duty fan, which I am not, I'm sure you can tell, but if I'm a diehard Call of Duty fan, I am shaking right now, hoping that the Call of Duty that comes out this year and what they do with Warzone has what it takes to compete with this new Battlefield game, because it looks fucking phenomenal.
It looks like it's everything I want in a shooter. I mean, I like modern weapons and I like, good balanced gameplay. Like Battlefield's never really had as much problem with that as Call of Duty, so I mean that's a guaranteed. So I mean, I am more interested in that than I am a World War II game from Call of Duty for sure. So
yep,
we'll see what happens.
Mythic?
Yeah. So I haven't seen the gameplay reveal, but I saw the cinematic trailer when that came out, and I was like, yeah, it looks pretty cool. But I mean, that cinematic trailer really didn't show us a whole lot.
Yeah.
So I guess I really didn't know what everything was gonna be, but I mean, it looked cool. I hope when it comes into the beta testing and all that kind of stuff, it comes out well.
Well, I'll keep you updated because I have pre-ordered the game and I'll be in the closed beta here in about a month and a half. So I'll keep you guys posted.
That, for sure.
I had the money to burn, and I know I'm gonna play it regardless. Because I've become a huge fan of Battlefield recently.
Did they announce release date for that or no?
It's coming out in October.
October.
It's middle of October. They're coming out. They're dropping it a month before the new Call of Duty.
I will say too. They hit the trailer very well with the what's the clip called? What's the guy's name that jumps out of the jet, shot the rocket like that? I don't even know the name of the clip, and I didn't even hear of that until a few months ago because I've never really been into Battlefield. But the fact that they put that in the reveal trailer was awesome. It was very cool.
Yeah. Dude, the game looks so sick, but we'll certainly be keeping you guys updated on that as more things come out. Now, as promised, we've got a podcast question from a longtime listener of this program. I know you're confused because it's episode 2. This podcast existed in a previous form, and Steel Switch was a listener of that podcast, and he provided many insightful podcast questions that led to a lot of good discussion, and I assume this one will too. So Steel Switch asks us, which multiplayer habits when brought into Warzone can hinder one's gameplay? The first thing that comes to mind is the consistent reloading everyone does, even after 1 or 2 rounds spent. Many games, I will get obliterated when caught in the middle of a reload animation when I didn't really mean to do it, or I didn't really need to do it. Gohan, you start.
For me, when I read this earlier, the first thing I thought of was okay, what did I think of earlier?
All right, Mythic, you start.
I'll come back. There was something, I swear.
So I guess my habits that I instantly jump to is like bunny hopping and drop shotting, and I guess those can be advantageous, but sometimes drop shotting gets you screwed. I don't know. I couldn't really think of a really good one because bunny hopping can be good. You can screw yourself because you can't be as mobile, and that's the same with drop shotting. But yeah, I didn't have those were the only 2 that came to my mind.
I remember mine. The first thing I thought of, because I mentioned it earlier, was about just me needing to play more patient, because in multiplayer you respawn over and over and over again. So you just run at everything. So like and when I play Call of Duty up until this battle royale, that's what I did. And every single Call of Duty I played throughout my entire life, you just go. So like teaching myself to play slower is definitely something I'm working on.
My biggest thing is overcommitting to fights. This is a thing that I can get away with in multiplayer because the time to kill is like half or whatever of what it is in this game, and I generally will land like, so like say somebody's holding an angle, I'm gonna bunny hop around whatever piece of cover I have and just fry that person. But in multiplayer, but in Warzone you have to keep your reticle on them for a lot longer to get the kill, and I find myself like, you know, as I'm bunny hopping around cover, and even though I land the first 4 or 5 shots, then I start getting shot back and I start flinching, and it causes me to miss the rest of my shots and not be able to get the down, and oftentimes it gets me killed. So overcommitting to fights is definitely my biggest habit that I need to break in Warzone, and that's transferred ostensibly from multiplayer. Now I don't have the same background as these dudes do with playing Call of Duty. I didn't even start playing until Modern Warfare came out. I'm dubbed 2019, that is. I played like a little bit of COD 4 and the original Black Ops back in the day at like my cousin's house, but I never owned any of those games when I was younger, so I never really played them. So I don't have as many habits to break, but that one's definitely it. I don't reload after 1 or 2 rounds spent, hardly ever. Like I'm usually the guy who's got 20 rounds in the mag and my teammates are screaming at me like, hey, you got 20 rounds left. And the reason I don't reload ever is because my main game was Siege for the longest time, and all it takes is 1 bullet to kill people in that game. So I wouldn't reload until I had like less than 10 usually in that game.
I had that problem in Siege too, actually, the reload spam. Like I would
probably
shoot
from Call of
reload.
Duty, you fucking
Absolutely.
rat. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Another one that I thought of was like being overly aggressive. Like a lot of times, like when like people are like hiding in like one building and you got like 2 people camping, I'm like, oh, I'm in there like swimwear. Like I'm coming up with like an MP7 or like, you know, an SMG, and I'm like, I can kill both of them. Like I can outplay both of them.
Just better.
it's just better. It's that simple.
But that's not as easy in Warzone. If like there's 2 people sitting in a building, like you kind of need somebody to like follow you up.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm always like way ahead of like everybody else when we're like going places, and I feel like I'm just in there and everybody's just like, wait, how'd you die, Mythic? And I'm just
that's been me lately. Gohan keeps yelling at me. He's like, dude, you're 100 meters ahead of us. Relax.
Yeah.
I said that's hilarious to me too, because me and Boopsy literally had a conversation the other day about you, Mythic, about how we always feel like we were the first ones pushing in and you're waiting for something to happen with us. We literally just talked about this like 3 days ago.
We did. I called you a rat bitch. Said Mythic's such a rat fuck. He baits me for his KD concept. I run in there and I crack both of them. I down one, crack one, and Mythic will fucking wait for me to get thirsted, and then he'll run up there and get the 2 easy kills on 2 people who are basically dead. You fucking rat bitch.
Yeah.
That's why Mythic has a higher KD, by the way.
Sure, we can go with that. We can go with that.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the fact that he knows how to aim.
It's high enough above ours that it's definitely not just that.
No, certainly not. But we're gonna give him shit for it regardless. All right, boys. Anything else we want to add before we sign off for the day?
Stop pulling out your heartbeats every 5 seconds. Can't take it anymore.
Yeah. Mythic.
What?
Do you have anything to add? I'm not.
Oh, I thought you were
done
calling
flaming
me
you.
out.
No, I'm done flaming you.
On my heartbeat.
No. If you want me to call you out, stop using the street sweeper. There, you've been called out.
That wasn't directed at any of you. I've just seen a lot of heartbeats in a lot of solo videos lately.
Oh yeah. Well, spectating solos, anyone?
We should do that videos.
True.
Anyways, that was the last point I guess I had to add that I just thought of. But yeah, that's basically it. Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, we're going to sign off here then. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. I know it ran a little longer than the first one. We're going to try and keep these between like an hour and 15 generally, but there was a lot. I had written this whole main topic out before the roadmap came out, and then the roadmap came out, and I was like, well, we have to talk about that too. So And then next week, we're going to have to talk about the new season and our impressions on that. So we can't, all this needed to be said before that comes out, basically. So hope you enjoyed it, even though it's long as fuck. If you want to catch more of us in the meantime, between episodes, you can find more from the Hardstuck Boys over at Twitch. There's 3 of us. All 3 of us stream. Gohan, not so much anymore, but he'll get there soon.
Eventually. Hopefully soon.
Twitch.tv/hey_it's_mythic, twitch.tv/it's brohan, that's ITSBROHAAN, and twitch.tv/it's boopsy. If you're watching on YouTube, all those are linked right below my face cam right at the moment. And you can also join the Discord, like Steel Switch. You can ask us questions. We'll answer them here on the podcast, so long as they're not the dumbest fucking thing we've ever read in our lives. Right, boys? You can also stay up to date on the news regarding the podcast. You can get notifications on when we're streaming. You can find people to play with. The link to all of this shit that I'm talking about will be in the description below. If you're watching on YouTube, drop a like. Consider subscribing. It's free for you. If you're listening on a podcast platform, feel free to rate us 5 stars. We don't accept anything less than 5 stars. So if you hate the podcast, go ahead and tune out now. Go ahead and go fuck yourself. But drop a 5-star rating. We appreciate the analytics. It helps out a lot. Appreciate you guys for listening, and we will catch you next week. Goodbye.
Peace.